Atlas has always been about evolution. When we started off, we were strictly a travel nurse company. Now, 20% of all of our travelers are allied health professionals. On this episode, we talked to two of our current Atlas recruiters that were both traveling healthcare professionals in their previous lives. This is Atlas All Access. Introduce yourselves first. Let's start off with that.
Sounds good. I'm Dee. I am an allied recruiter, and I was a former labor and delivery nurse. I'm actually still a labor and delivery nurse, and recruit as well.
My name's Brad, former ER travel nurse, turned recruiter. Been here about 3 years now on the recruiting side of things.
That's right, yeah. Okay, so you said something interesting there. I think, you're always going to be a nurse, right? I mean, I think that's it's just in your DNA.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting when more than one of our recruiters have introduced themselves like that in the past and said like, no, I always will be.
Yeah.
That it's just always part of who you are.
It's a huge accomplishment to get through nursing school, and something to be proud of. So
my first question is, and this is interesting because I was never on this side, right? I was a recruiter in the beginning, but I was never on your side as a healthcare professional. ER, L&D. How much crossover is there? And what does that look like on the backside?
being L&D, being L&D nurse and then an allied recruiter, there's not much crossover there. But we did work with respiratory therapists, x-ray techs. All the allied would come up to our unit for some reason or another. So I kind of got familiar with allied, then I really got familiar whenever I started here as an
Right.
allied recruiter, and I love it.
Like coming from, I think definitely the travel nursing portion of my nursing career is what translated the best. With that, I didn't know what I didn't know when I was traveling until I'm getting into this position now. My recruiters in the past, Eric, still a good friend of mine, Joe, my manager, I still speak to them on a regular basis. They were always there to help me, but there's sometimes where you didn't ask questions that you didn't know you needed to ask. So I think the thing that translated over the most is I got the basics already, and then I was able to take the advanced class when I got here.
Gotcha. I think the you didn't know what you didn't know has been a very constant through all of this, right? And that's maybe it's where you have an edge, where both of you have an edge, right, in your recruiting efforts. All right, so question number 2. How does this translate to what you do now? And I know, obviously, you have an edge when you speak the same language. You understand what their day to day is like. How does this really translate when you pick up the phone or you're texting a traveler and you talk to them? How does that help you, and how does that translate?
Empathy, I would say, because you've been in their shoes before. You realize how difficult maybe it is to find housing in this location versus what the pay is, because it's not it's not apples to apples all the time. So a $2,000 rate here versus a $2,000 rate here is not the same thing.
Right.
And I think being able to explain that to people, because I've gone through it myself, be like, well, listen, this not as bad as it looks, or this is a lot better than it looks. If it's aiming towards your goals, this is what you should go after. Trust me, I've been there, or something like that.
Dee, is there a difference on the allied side?
I wouldn't say there's a huge difference. I would agree with empathy, and I think trust. I think it's a huge, when you let a traveler know, hey, I was a traveler too, I'm still in the field, I think it really lets the traveler open up and trust you.
100%.
What has it been like? And I mean, Brad, you and I have had the conversation of, moving from being a traveler to a recruiter now. You were on the nursing side, and now you're on the allied side. What are the differences? Like, how is that different?
I wouldn't say there's a huge difference between the actual process of traveling. There's not a difference at all. The difference is learning all the different specialties, learning the certifications, the licensure, all the different things for all the different specialties, it's a huge learning curve for sure.
I assume you're leaning on the rest of your allied recruiters for help, and then maybe back on other recruiters that have been here for a while for that extra support.
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. Go back to when you were traveling.
Yeah. And
you were talking to your recruiter. To right now, how much have things changed? Because I know the industry has changed considerably. Specifically, how much have things changed?
Gosh, it's 180. I mean, realistically, because when I did it, I knew when I got into nursing that I wanted to travel eventually. It was my entire goal. I just, I help people, but I also had a big desire just to see the whole country, But it wasn't very common. Like, a lot of people knew nothing about it when I started, honestly. Like, you would get one or two travelers and everyone picked their brains and asked them all the questions in the world.
Right.
And I did the same thing on my first job in Des Moines. There was two of them specifically. I would just ask them everything. I'm like, this is what I want to do. Now, everyone thinks they know everything about it because of the way society is.
And social media. Yeah, exactly.
And they think they know everything, but they actually know just about as much as they did before, slightly more.
Sure.
Yeah. They don't exist, but otherwise, that's about it.
I would say I can't say much. My recruiter was actually really awesome, and I try to be like her. She was very educational. She spent hours on the phone with me explaining everything, and I feel like I do that now with my travelers. And then the company itself was really good, like Atlas, as far as compliance and getting me through all the process. And she just made it very seamless. So I try to be like that. As far as the differences, I agree with Brad. Like, social media has made a huge impact on traveling. Just the internet, period, has made a huge, huge impact.
All right, last question. If one of your travelers came to you today and said, I want to be a recruiter, what would you say to them? And that's not an easy question right now, because the industry's not easy, right? It's not. And that's not a secret to anyone that watches any of this. Like, we're very open and talking about that. So what would you say to them right now?
So they want to transition from nurse to recruiter.
Absolutely.
Or allied professional to recruiter.
Yeah.
Talk to your recruiter about it. I would say the best thing is, before I took this job, I spoke with Eric multiple times for well over an hour each time, just about what to expect and what the daily grind is like. And again, that changed from when I've taken this job, but at least you have a general idea of like what you're starting into, because it's two different worlds completely. Both can be enormously stressful,
Or rewarding, right? I mean,
obviously,
right?
Yeah. So but more of what I was trying to get at there. It's not like you're dropping one because, this is so much easier, vice versa. Right. You know what I mean? Right. They both have their benefits and they both have difficult times that you're going to deal with. So just make sure it's within your personality, your skill set and whatnot, because it takes a specific type of person to, you got to be on the horn with a lot of people that might not be happy with you all the time. Yeah. And a lot of nurses are used to that.
And a lot of nurses and medical professionals really like their 3 shifts a week. And so this is definitely not 3 shifts a week. No. So I would ask them, are you ready to grind? Because it is.
It's very similar to when you're starting off traveling. Ask as many questions as possible.
Yep. Right.
Brad, Dee, thank you so much.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put all their contact information right down below. Brad on the nursing side, Dee on the allied side. If you have any questions whatsoever, you know how to find me. Reach out to them. They do this job every single day. They can answer those questions for you way better than I could. All right?
All right.
We'll see you next time.